Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another videos, another paid request, this time for I Live Again 1. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for the pilot to The Greatest American Hero, which I had heard of, I had seen clips of. More so, I knew of the theme song, because the theme song to the show was for a while the theme song to this guy I watched on YouTube called the Cinema Snob, Brad Jones. He doesn't use it anymore because of copyright, but I remember watching his stuff a lot, and every time I open it's like, believe it or not, I'm walking on air. Now, I didn't realize this show did not last that long. It was only from 1981 to 1983. It was about 40 some episodes. I guess later on they tried to do another The Greatest American Heroine, not the drug, but female hero. But I guess it didn't work, and then I guess in some places it just looked as another episode of the show. But this I enjoyed, this pilot. I did enjoy it because I thought it had a nice humor, has a nice wit to it. I thought the characters were, especially William Cat, was rather likable. William Cat, who was in the first House film from the 80s, the horror comedy, he does a good job as his teacher that's hired to take care of these students that are maybe some are troublemakers. One of them, it's Michael Pare from Eddie and the Cruisers and various other films. I'm like, holy shit, it's Michael Pare. I don't know if he's in the show, but he was at least in this pilot. So they give the teacher a little bit of grief, but I like that William Cat, even though he's a nice guy, he's not a pushover. He doesn't just falter to these students. And ultimately goes, hey, let's go on a field trip. So he goes on a field trip, and while on there, strange things happen. The radio blows up, and they're like, what the hell's going on? One at least another, William Cat has to go and get help, and meets upon this FBI agent that he had seen earlier, played by Robert Culp. Now, Robert Culp, he was successful back in the day on this TV show called I Spy with, yes, Bill Cosby in it. Now, if I understand when they did the show, William Cat and Robert Culp didn't see eye to eye. That's why the friction on screen seems a bit real, but actually works for the show. And one at least another, and this UFO comes by. Pretty decent model for a TV show in the early 80s. Pretty decent looking model, hovers over it, and the aliens pretty much talk to them via the radio about this suit. Now, granted, I don't know if these aliens are just bored. We're bored. We're bored at home. We've watched everything. Let's go to Earth and pick a random guy to give him a suit for superpowers. Just because. I don't know if it's ever explained like why the aliens give a shit, but they do. So they send actually kind of the body of this guy who was Robert Culp's partner who died in order to put the suit in the trunk. Oh, that's one thing I forgot to mention. The very first thing, we see a bunch of bald Jesus heads chasing this guy in a suit, and you get the idea that they kill him. But it's not every day you see, even for a pilot of a show, a bunch of bald people who are Jesus freaks, or they're religious freaks of some sort. At least they speak that way. And like I said, it's really the characters, their interactions that make this work. It's William Cat seeing this crazy stuff and goes, yeah, in the trunk, sure, whatever. Just being stunned and like, what else do you say about the ridiculous of this situation? And him just trying to keep a handle of this, and what is this suit, and it doesn't fit that well, and what do you do with this? And then he loses the instruction manual, so he doesn't know how to work it. He has a kid, and I believe there's some like custody battle happening. So at one point he's trying to get to it, but he doesn't know how to fly. So he's trying to take steps and doesn't know. But then this random kid goes, "Hey, you're doing it wrong." It's like, you take 3 steps. Oh, sorry, kid. You're not very good at this. Tell me about it. And then he does it, but he doesn't know how to fly. So it didn't just. It was a different take on a superhero, especially at the time, where you looked at superheroes as they know what they're doing, they're brave, they're courageous, they're responsible. What if you had a guy that didn't know what the fuck he was doing and is like felt like a regular guy put into an extraordinary situation? I thought William Catt was rather likable, personable. On the flip side, Robert Culp, he always seemed either perturbed or sick, whether it be the first time we meet him and Michael Price giving him shit and has like a knife and like a quick draw. Robert Culp has his gun. Sure you want to do that? Steers the shit out of Michael Pare. Or later on, he just gets frustrated with William Catt and what he's doing or not doing, I should say. As William Catt's starting to learn his abilities with the suit on, whether it be kind of X-ray vision, but not, or trying to fly and stumbling down. Tells his girlfriend of the suit, of course she doesn't believe it. But he's like, hey, listen, think of it this way. You're 1 step ahead of Lois Lane. She didn't even know he was Superman, but you know me now. Which is also refreshing because a lot of times it's about keeping the secret identity from your girlfriend. No, by the end of this pilot, she knows his identity. So that makes things a little bit different, a little bit interesting, a little bit of change of pace. Again, him obviously having all these powers, not knowing what they are because he lost the manual. So obviously throughout the show it'd be him realizing, oh, I got this power too, and how the hell do I do this? And it seems like something that would be made more today with that level of humor and a superhero product. But here it just feels a bit more earnest, a bit more innocent because of that. I would say that aspect of him trying to learn his powers, trying to make it all work, trying to figure out what to do, is definitely the more interesting of the story. It loses a bit of steam in the last third with the plot of the bad guy, something about getting a new president, and the president's going to land, and there's going to be some coup, and we're going to fit in a new president. Like I said, when it got to that, and like the Jesus freaks like steal the kidnap Robert Culp, and I like the bit where William Catt has to jump over the wall and can't, or there's another bit where he's trying to slam through a wall, but he almost knocks himself out, then does it again, is able to manage through the second time. But again, with the plot of the bad guys, that was kind of secondary in nature. I would say that was the least interesting part of the movie was or I say movie because the pilot's feature length. The plot of the ploy of the bad guys was not that interesting, not that intriguing. Like I said, it was about William Catt and Robert Culp, and again how they're dealing with the situation that's thrust upon them, the outrageousness of it all. And the finale was there pretty much. He has to stare off this chopper, which has the president, so he gets some lights and flies off, and the special effects are what they were. They did what they could at the time for a TV budget, and he's flying around, buzzing around like a bee, and they get scared off. They try to shoot him. He realizes he's bulletproof. But it was a nice introduction to have this guy being thrust into his extraordinary situation, and it felt relatable, him trying to figure out what to do next, what he can do. I thought him and Robert Culp worked pretty decent with each other. I like a bit, for example, he's watching the Super Friends, and he's noticing Superman and all these heroes there, and he's like kind of shaking his head. As I this is what I'm going to be. It's interesting that a show that didn't last that long made pretty decent impact. Just people either remember the look of William Cat and some of the. I think again it just felt more refreshing to do a more comedic take on a superhero like that. That wasn't Adam West Batman or something. Like the theaters knew how ridiculous the situation was, but at the same time they're not winking to the camera every 5 minutes or trying to purposely be quote campy. Like I said, despite the limitations they had with the budget, it still seems like something they would do more so today than back then. And of course, you have that great theme song that you hear the instrumental at the beginning, but at the end of the pilot, you hear the full song with the lyrics. And it's a great song. I do it. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. Who could it be? Believe it or not, it's just me. I think the other episodes now that you don't have to worry about, they're, I don't know, 40, maybe like 40, 45 minutes a piece. So that maybe there could be a bit tighter pace because of that. And now that we've set it up, this is a tough thing with pilots is that you have to have a lot of exposition because you have to set up everything. You gotta set up the situation, you gotta set up the characters, you gotta set up the environment, you gotta set up what kind of bad guys they may be facing. So it's a lot of setup and exposition. That's why a lot of times when you look at shows, they look at the pilots, they go, well, the pilots don't know if they're, you know, they're not usually looked at as the best episodes of those shows. They could be decent or tolerable. Some could be wanting and then they get better. But now that's, like I said, I've seen the basis of it, the actors. This seemed like it would be a fun show. I could see myself, if I had time, visiting more of the show. At the very least, the first season. Because then, well, it's only 40 episodes or so, so it's. I mean, it's still a lot, but. Especially depending on how long each episode is, but. More manageable compared to other shows, I guess, best way to put it. But. Yeah, this seems like a fun one. I did have fun with it. Like I said, despite the bad guys being lacking and other stuff, it was fun. It was fun to watch. And like I said, I appreciate the humor. I appreciate the relatability of the lead guy. As I see Michael Pare in there, I was surprised by that. And overall, definitely a thumbs up from me. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.